fastest growing podcast up in the world right now, you know. Say word. Only fans, real estate, talking in fashion, let them know what's happening. Say word. On and off the court, in the field with the sports, let them know what's up. Say word. The conversation is active, from movies to action, it's the main attraction. Say word.
You recording right now? Let me get my joint straight. Yo, check. Another interview of the world's fastest, largest growing podcast. We back, Houston, Texas. I got a very, very special guest in the building. NBA champion. One of the only undrafted NBA players that average 20 points per game in the NBA season. My cousin, Mr. Michael Lamont James. I said this dude whole name. What's up, my guy?
What's up, baby?
Yo, man.
Call out my whole
listen,
okay.
I know your whole name. That's why.
They don't know it.
But now they know. This Say Word podcast.
Say word.
Yo, I wanna talk about let's talk about Amityville, man. Growing up, hooping in the park. I know the story. I just want the world to know like how Amityville impacted you, what it taught you, and what you learned coming from that city.
I mean, first, it's funny because I was listening to Method Man talk about, Long Island.
I heard him say,
representing Long Island, but then he started talking about wine dance, and he was like, yo, not too many people know because it's on the island, but he was like, yo, when I was out there, everybody from wine dance could fight. Mm-hmm. He was like, then and then Noriega made a statement like, and there was a barbecue out there, and it was like 3 people laid out on the ground.
I seen the same episode.
He was just like, they wild out here. But what they don't understand is Amityville is the next neighbor in town.
That's a fact.
And our rival is wine dance. So it's like it was like the beef was always between Amityville and wine dance. So, growing up in New York, we grew up on Long Island. But at the same time, we still had that borough vibe. Because drugs was big in our community.
Facts.
We had the block. They was pushing about 2 million a day.
Mm-hmm.
We was on 60 Minutes for being a small town in Long Island, but so much money is being moved through the neighborhood. So when you got so much money in poverty-stricken areas, and you don't really have you only got people that's hustling. Well, guess what? Here go to crime. Here go to killing. Here go to shooting. So we got to see everything that they was doing. In the boroughs,
that's a fact.
We were seeing the same thing right there in a small town in Amityville because of how the money was being pushed through the city.
When did you realize, because I remember, it's interesting interviewing you because I was kind of there. But when did you realize, you was, that nice in basketball, though? What was the age? You was like, you know what? I got a shot.
I mean, that was always my dollar in the dream, though. You know what I mean? Growing up, it was either you sell drugs, I hung with all the criminals in the neighborhood.
Yeah, niggas is definitely criminals back home. I love y'all though.
Yeah,
I love y'all.
Sell drugs. I was always the cool kid, always had the basketball. I'll come around, I was cool with everybody. I'll go to the flat tops, I'll go to the sticks, I'll go to the 40s, I'll go to the north side, I have my basketball, but I was fooling with everyone. So it was like I've always had that vibe of just, even though we was from New York, it didn't matter. If y'all didn't mess with each other, I was still messing with everybody.
Did you ever envision your career to be the way your career turned out? You had a successful NBA career.
Answering your question, I didn't answer your question. I didn't think that it was no other way. It was no other choice. Growing up, it was either, sell drugs or you gonna hoop. Biggie said it the best, either you slanging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. And so I just chose to have a wicked jump shot. And that's the thing that was my out, and that was my opportunity. And so I just held on to that. Not really understanding, not really knowing, what was next. But it was just like, man, I know I'm not going to do what they doing.
That's a fact.
And so I just continued to just stay on the grind.
Do you feel like being from Amityville, right? Do you feel like it was dudes that was probably nicer than you or just as nice as you, but didn't get the opportunity?
I mean, I say it all the time.
It's a lot of talent out there, man.
The best athletes, period, aren't playing the sport now. They either in jail or killed or injured. And so somebody else has to fill in that gap fill in that void of what that person that was supposed to be there wasn't capable of staying the course. And because they wasn't able to stay the course, regardless of whatever the issue was, somebody else got to come in, and they might not be as talented or good, but man, people still want to be entertained. And so if you can't do it, if they say somebody else going to fill in that gap.
I want to talk about high school. Obviously, you played at Annabelle High School, successful 4 years there. I think you played freshman your first year, right?
No, sophomore.
Sophomore?
Yeah.
So wait, you didn't your first ninth grade, you didn't play varsity ninth grade, right?
No, I played ninth grade.
Why didn't let you play varsity ninth grade?
Because
you was nicer than mostly everybody though.
Middle school, ninth grade was middle school.
Okay.
7th, 8th, 9th was middle school, so we was all junior high, and then high school was 10th, 11th, 12th, and so, it would unless you was incredibly talented or skilled, you wouldn't go from junior high school to practice at the high school every single day. You know what I mean? Everything was just right there in that place.
Let's talk about being recruited from the park. You know what I'm trying to say? We know you went to Duquesne, but then before you went to Duquesne, you went to Redemption first.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Wow, Redemption Christian Academy. I guess I think that's the time that, I really learned discipline. I really learned how. That's when I really started maturing a little bit as going from a young man to a man. Was being in that area, it was so many good, talented athletes coming from all different boroughs of New York.
Word.
But none of them could pass the SAT, and half of them got kicked out of school. So it was like all the nicest misfits in one little, little building. And it was either you got to step up and show that you can play, or you going to be on the bench and you're going to be bullied the whole time. So it was like you had no choice but be tough. It was like a group home, but it wasn't a group home. It was a prep school, but we was out there living like we was in a group home.
Going to Duquesne, could you have went anywhere else besides going to Duquesne, with that whole process?
It was one school that drafted me, community college. I didn't have no schools drafted me coming out of school. I was overlooked. I was one of those kids where I always looked at myself as a jack of all trades, where I really don't do nothing special. So when you look at me, you won't basically see nothing unique or nothing stand out, but across the board, I'm even. And so you can't judge that a lot of times, because most people judge something that stands out. They judge whether or not how fast you are, how strong you are, how athletic you are, but it's something that makes them say, this is something specific that you stand out on, and I can judge you on this. But when you're even across the board, it's like, you don't do nothing special, you don't do nothing, great. So it's like, really, like, what value do you really bring? Because most of the time, the people that say that they following the talent, they want to say, hey, look at him, he can jump really high. Hey, look at him, he's really fast. Hey, look at him, he can do something, he can handle the ball really, really good.
Word.
But when you just do everything just good, it's just like they just watching you, but they don't have nothing to judge you on, because it's like you're not doing nothing special, but you're just doing everything across the board.
So leaving Duquesne, is your thought process like, I'm going to the league? Is that how you thinking? Like, it's my last year.
Of course.
Like, is you like, I'm getting drafted, I'm going to the league? Like, what's your process? What's your thought process at that time?
Of course, I didn't get drafted. Went to Europe. It was difficult, watching the draft. Going to Duquesne, it's just one of those schools that people don't pay attention to. It's a small school, and when I was in school, the talent, the skill, the talent scouts, they knew all the talent, supposedly.
Yeah.
So they didn't go
allegedly.
They didn't go outside their box. They didn't go outside their box. They didn't go to the small schools to see the talent. It was basically like, if you went to a small school, you're not talented. If you didn't go to an ACC, Big East, Big 10, Big 12 school, well, then you're not that good.
Word.
And so I was in that era where you had to go, if you were not getting recruited highly, well, then it's supposed to be like levels, where they say if you're highly recruited in high school, well, you're predicted that much more to go to a bigger school. When you go to a bigger school and they've been recruiting you for such a long time, well, then you're almost 75, 80% guaranteed that you're going to get drafted. Why? Because
that's crazy, though.
You've been on the radar and it doesn't really matter how good of a career you had on the collegiate level, but the simple fact that the hype behind your name and how you've been on their radar and you're expected or supposedly supposed to be this talented athlete.
Are you amazed how things have changed now? Like how you could go to a small school now and it's not the same like how it was. You know what I'm saying?
I look at professional sports now, and the difference when I played the game and the game today is when I played, everyone had a motor. Everyone played hard. Everyone played on a high level, but their talent and their skill separated them. So not everyone was as talented as each other, but they all played hard.
They all play hard, yeah.
Whereas today, everyone has the same talent and skill, and it's how hard you work is what separates you. Like it's the ones that play the hardest. The ones that don't play hard don't want to play against them. So they stand out because they look wild and look crazy, and everyone playing now want to be cute. Is the game has turned into then that's the whole shift of it now. It's more of a celebrity game than it is a battle out there.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that, like the content of the NBA right now, how much has changed. Like you guys obviously being from like a bulldog pit bull, like
no, but you gotta understand though, like even when you look at the NBA when the Dr. J's and those guys played the game. Like, I've heard stories of them, like, getting off the plane, having the limo meet them at the airport. Like, I see y'all tomorrow, got like 5-10 females in the car.
Word.
They take about 2 or 3 of their boys with them. But when it came to the game, they came to the game in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
They came to the game professional, and they performed how people expect them to perform. So it's one of those things, play hard, play hard. You know what I mean? But now the players want to do the entertainment part, want to hang out and have the fun.
The social media.
They forget about being the professional part is you got to earn your keep now. You got to earn your bread. Like we want to be entertained when we come to see you play. We don't care what you did last night. We have no care about what you was doing, you know, with who. Now the thing is how you show how professional you are is how you perform on the court, because this is your job. Like,
do you like
just an you're paid to entertain the fans.
Are you a fan of like the whole load management situation?
No, of course not. You know,
I mean, cause like obviously you playing like
this is a hard game as is, and you know the hardest part about load management is getting out of rhythm.
Okay.
You know, you can sit someone and you start sitting them, and then you trying to prepare them for the playoffs. But now once playoff time come, you done set them 4 or 5 games. They ain't got no rhythm now. So now they got to get a rhythm all over again based off of not being in game preparation. So all games do, it's like the professional sports is three seasons in one season always. The first season is the preseason. That's preparing you for the regular season. The regular season is a whole nother season in itself. Because you can see someone playing well in the preseason and don't do nothing in the regular season.
A word?
But then you can see someone do great in the regular season and don't do nothing in the playoffs. Why? Because that's a whole nother season in itself. So it's not the game that elevates, it's the mindset has to elevate as the season goes on. That's the reason why the playoffs is at the end of the year, because you're supposed to be at the peak of your game. You're supposed to be at your best rhythm. That's the reason why sports is
That's hard. It seemed like it's hard to do that though, because it seemed like at the end of the year you be hurt, you be beat up.
But that's the reason.
You know what I'm saying?
Sports is so much more fun to watch at the end of the season. I'd rather watch baseball playoffs. I'd rather watch Madness. I'd rather watch football playoffs. Why? Because it seems like everyone is sharp. The passes are different. The running is different. Everyone is crisp and sharp now because it's the end of the season and they're all playing for something. So the motivation to want to win is at a higher peak. And I think that's what the difference is. Guys are not taking the seasons the way it's supposed to be. They thinking because they played well in the preseason, they've earned minutes in the playoffs.
Nah.
And it's like you ain't even done nothing in the regular season. So you have to be able to elevate each round of as the season goes on.
Who's some of the vets that that you was around when you first went to Miami? Some of the vets that you kind of like, you know what, these dudes are kind of cool when you was with the Heat.
No, I mean, I was embraced, man. I had some great vets, Bryant, Grant, Alonzo Mourning, Rod Strickland.
Ooh, shout out to Rod Strickland.
Rod was the first time, like, he was my first, like, introduction to, like, the NBA. Like, this thing is for real. Like, I thought that it was sweet when I first went in there, and I had this, chip on my own shoulder. I'm a young boy, I'm a young bull, and I'm just like I'm taking your spot. I'm doing what, man, you not playing no more. And Rod was basically like, little lad, you sit right here.
Wow.
You play behind me. And I was just like, just being able to be behind him, but watch him as a player. I realized, like, to this day in New York, he's like the greatest point guard to play the game.
Yeah, shout out.
Coming out of New York.
Yeah.
To me, personally, being able to watch him as a young boy and then being able to go against him and seeing it hands on.
I'm gonna throw a name at you. Tell me what you think about this person, Pat Riley.
He was he mob boss.
The Godfather.
You know what I'm saying? Pat is Pat used to be every day. He used to. The funny thing about Pat is he used to give us a speech every single day. We would get a motivational speech every morning and before practice and before games. And I used to always be like, man, what is this dude going to say today? And as soon as he finished talking, I would always be like, man, this dude make me sick, man. I'm ready to run through a wall for this dude. But when I tell you, it was one of the greatest motivational speakers where he can get grown men in a room and they all teary-eyed, ready to just run through a brick wall for him. Only person I've ever seen with that type of skill was him.
What was your, like, welcome into the NBA moment besides the Rod Strickland moment? Like, I'm talking about, like, stepping on the court and you got the other point guards, the other two guards. You like, man, like, it's a, like, real welcoming to the NBA type of moment. Like, I'm here and I got to, like, play for real.
I mean, I guess is trying to find yourself, trying to find your way. You get mesmerized by a funny story. I can remember my first year, I was with Miami, and I remember the first preseason game we was playing against Orlando. This is when T-Mac was on the Magic and Grant Hill, and I remember walking in the arena, and I said, "Dang, what is that smell?" And I kept smelling it, and it was like, "Man, this thing is strong." And I was like walking around, I was like, I kept asking people like, "Yo, you don't smell that?" And they're like, "Man, what is you talking about?" So I'm sitting on the bench, but I'm like, "Man, that thing's strong. Like, what is that smell?" So then I finally looked at someone, and I said, "Yo, you don't smell that?" He was like, "What, popcorn?" I said, "That's what that is." Like, yo, I was tripping.
That's funny.
I tell you, man. But that very sense, for the remainder of my career, it was always a distinct smell from day before a game and day of a game.
Okay.
So whenever I walked in an arena after that, it was just always just like I was just always just popcorn. Like, it's game day. Like, you smell that popcorn. And so I think that it freaked me out at first. It turned around to be the very thing that got me excited about as soon as I walked into an arena.
Who's the person, like, you kind of like, this is a weird question, like asking all the NBA players and stuff, but the person you was like, you know what? I can't go out tonight. I got to suit up. Like, I got to be ready for him tomorrow. Who's that guy? Who's that guy on the court? Like, you like, man, I gotta strap it up. I got to strap it up.
The person I think gave me the hardest problems in my career was probably Baron Davis.
Ooh.
You know?
He big though. That's because he's super big. Like,
it used to be a problem with me because he's athletic.
He big.
He got a big butt.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to say that. Pause, but like I know he like big and he like.
And it's like he like to put his body on you, and you like, and he knows how to use it. And it was always a problem with me because he had an and one mixtape handle. He had a Stephen Curry jump shot.
Baron Davis was so nice.
He had a Vince Carter vertical. So it was like pick your poison. How he's coming at you any type of way, and it's going to be hard to stop any of it. So it was like that was one of those people who was like, man, I'm gonna be in a track race tonight. I'm
gonna take you back to a game at Madison Square Garden one year when killer crossover against Stephon Marbury. Take us back to that play, man.
Tripping, yo.
Listen,
you know
we talking about it. I don't like. Shout out to Steph. Listen, shout out to Steph and Marbury. Shout out to Brooklyn. But listen. I remember that play because Steph and them. I seen Steph in the summertime, and he gave you a look. It was me and you. That's my word. Word up. And we was at the Rockets. I don't know. We was at some game in the summertime, and we had walked past, and he ain't see him, but he looked back.
Yeah.
This is after you crossed him over. He was just looking at you like.
No, but you know what?
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Steph though. We love you, Steph.
It was funny because, I'm back home. We playing. I got all my fans in the stands, and the funny thing about New York players playing against each other, the competition never stopped.
That's a fact.
So whenever I saw Skip, in the game, if I see Steph in the game, if I see any New York guard, it was almost like it's extra grisly.
Shout out to Skip.
It's like it's extra, however you want to do this. I remember me and Skip almost fighting at John Lucas workouts, arguing, talking back and forth. But now it's getting personal now because we ain't even talking on basketball stuff. We talking, it's some New York.
Some New York type of time.
It's like some little underlying things going on right now. So it's always personal. And I remember I got subbed back in the game, and I'm bringing the ball up the court. And no, I'm playing. And Stephon got subbed in the game, and he's picking me up 94 feet. And I'm dribbling the ball, and he said, "Come on, Mike, don't try nothing crazy, man." He's laughing, but he's talking to me. He's like, "Come on, Mike, don't try nothing crazy, man. I just got in the game, I'm still tight." So I'm like, So I saw the pick, and I act like I was going over the pick, and I hit him with the crossover, and I hit the jump shot, and he spent around and fouled me. And as he fouled me, you can hear me walking away saying, "Man, I ain't your friend. Don't be talking to me out here like we boys like that, man. What's wrong with you? You about to get this work." And so that was always the mindset, man, I'm not your friend out here. So don't become we could be cool afterwards. Yeah. Afterwards, but if it go down, I'm fighting with the same people that got the jersey on as me.
I wanna go back to that year with the Raptors when you averaged 20 points per game. At that time, you was the only undrafted NBA player to average 20 points per game. Let's go back to that year. That was a special year. Let's talk about that year.
What makes it really special is the fact that summer, I remember two things. That summer, I remember calling Chauncey Billups while they were in the playoffs playing against San Antonio, and I just got we just lost in the first round. And I was telling Chauncey, "Yo, Chauncey," it was something about the confidence that I had. It was something about that year that I said, "Oh my goodness, these cats can't guard me." Yeah, you was
real confident that summer.
I called Chauncey and I said, "Chauncey, if y'all don't do it this year," I said, "we winning the championship next year." I said, "It's a wrap." I said, "We got one of the best." I said, "We got one of the best centers in the league." I said, "Our three-man is probably one of the best threes in the league." And I said, "The point guard," I said, "I'm handling all y'all next year." So he laughed and really wasn't taking me serious. And this is what made it even more special. I remember being at T-Mac's house, and we was training. And I looked at him. I said, "Yo, Mac, listen, man." I was so serious. I said, "Mac, listen. Y'all got all the Chinese votes." I said, "I ain't trying to be Batman. I ain't trying to be Robin." I said, "Yo, mess with me." I said, "Yo, help me become an all-star." He looked at me and he laughed. And I was looking at him like, "Yo, what's so funny?"
You was serious though.
What you mean? I'm about to put these guards on notice this
year.
Yeah,
you was serious.
It's a rap, Mac. So the funny thing is, when I got traded that year from Houston to Toronto, I remember I used to walk through the tunnel every morning, and I used to look at all the retired jerseys, and I used to be like, "My jersey's gonna go right there." And I used to always say this to myself every single morning, and so wouldn't say it to no soul. When they traded me, this was the first time a trade ever hurt me. It was after media day, and so it was like, I was messed up because the day before I'm doing all this 3-2-1 Houston Rocket, let's go team stuff, and then the next morning, Jeff Van Gundy calls me and is like, "Yo, you got traded to Toronto." I was like, "For who?"
Was it for Skip?
Yeah, I said, "Who else?" I said, "I know you didn't give me up for no straight up trade," but I said, "All right, cool." So I remember being in the car, and I'm driving my daughter to school, and both my daughters is in the back seat. And I can remember I was talking to somebody on the phone, and I was just like, man, I can't get a break. They always doing this. I was like, da-da-da-da-da. I started getting angry and frustrated, so I started tearing up. I started crying, right? And then my oldest daughter, she looked at me with such a surprised look on her face. Like, she was like maybe 6 years old at the time. And she was so surprised. And then I looked at my 3-year-old. My 3-year-old, she said, Daddy a crybaby. Daddy a crybaby.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And so I looked at her, and it was like the look that I gave her, she was just like, man, suck it up, quit crying, go to Toronto, go handle your business. And I was like, baby, you know what? You're right. That's 100% truth. That's what I'm going to do. So everything I did in Toronto that year, that's what I thought of myself. So it was a surprise to everyone else, but it was just like, I'm just walking in me now.
Do you feel like you would have did that with the Rockets?
Of course.
Okay.
100%.
I always wanted to ask you that. Like, do you feel like you would have did the same thing with the Rockets that year?
If Mac would have let me go, let me go out there and all that, man, that year, it was like I had so much confidence, it was a wrap.
Yeah, I remember that year. That was like, you worked hard that summer too, though. That summer you was working extremely, extremely hard.
I mean, not really working. I was playing against everybody. I was playing against N1 mixtape dudes. I was playing in Rucker.
You was playing, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you was playing like a lot of different events.
In my head, I basically just said I want to be the nicest guard, period. So whoever think they nice, I'm going to play against them. Like, it didn't matter whether you was supposed to be the nicest in the street ball. Like, I'm going to destroy you this year. So I was just on that mindset.
I want to go to the championship team. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I did not think y'all was going to beat the Lakers. Like, I remember, like, I was home and I was like, yeah, I don't know, Mike and them. Yo, and this is when the Lakers had Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, and, like, they had like 4, I think, Hall of Famers on their team. I didn't think y'all was going to beat them. Let's talk about that, like that whole team, that 2004 Detroit Pistons team, Chauncey, Rasheed, Ben Wallace, Rip, Tayshaun. And for y'all, did y'all sweep them?
No, we beat them
4-1?
4-1.
It seemed like y'all swept them. But be real, did you think y'all was gonna beat them? We here. I wanna know, did y'all think y'all was gonna beat that team? That was a colossal team.
We was angry when we lost game 2 because we let Kobe, like, we played Kobe one-on-one when they was like up 3 or something. He hit like a big 3, like, to put them up. But we was like, man, if we would have fouled him, he'd only hit 2 free throws, we'd have got the ball back, we'd have been up 1 and they would have lost, yada, yada, yada. But we was like, yo, they can't beat us. Mm-hmm. In our head, we was just like, man, guard Shaq, guard Kobe, and don't let nobody else do nothing else. Shaq is going to have his 30, Kobe's going to have his 30, but Derek Fisher going to have nothing. Everybody else on their team is going to have they're going to have the worst series. And so that was the beauty of our team, was we had an incredibly great starting 5.
Word.
But we had an incredibly great bench.
Yeah, y'all did. Y'all bench could have been starters.
But that's but that's the reason why, when other teams, when in the playoffs, if you pay attention, they cut their roster down as series go on, where they was playing maybe 10, 12 players. Now they only playing 8 players, whereas we was still playing 10, 12 players. You know what I mean? And whoever comes in the game, there's no letdown, because we got a bench that was 5 starters as well, and maybe another player that could start on a team that's getting a DNP. Mm-hmm. And so our team, even though it was a bunch of players that were no names, not Hall of Famers, and didn't have that brand behind them, that didn't take away from the skill and the talent of each individual that was on that team as well.
I tell people all the time about winning the championship. You know what I'm trying to say? I wasn't there, but I remember. How did it feel to win an NBA championship?
I mean, it's a beautiful thing because you put in so much effort, and it's a team effort. And it takes some luck. It takes the ball going your way sometimes, but when you're overcoming in that area, it's like, wow, like, we are the last team standing. It's almost like being in a race and everybody, like a free-for-all race, and everybody's fighting for that flag, And now all of a sudden you see all these bodies. When you look down at the bottom of the mountain, you see all these bodies, and all of a sudden while people grabbing your legs, you the main one grabbing the flag, basically saying we the last one standing. So there's an honor in that as well, having so many people coming at you, basically saying you can't do something, and then you accomplish those things. There's a personal, excitement, and it's also a drive to let you know, man, we the best team this year. It may not be next year, and it may not be last year, but this year we the best team.
That's a fact. This NBA champion Mike James. Before I get you up out of here, though, I gotta talk about this, man. The game that Kobe scored 81 points. You was in that game. You actually had 36 points that game. To see him go 30 for 81, and like you there, can you just describe just like the atmosphere there? You just being part. I mean, I'm just saying because like you wasn't really guarding. Listen, shout out to Mo Pete, shout out to Jalen Rose. I think Matt Bonner was on that team. I don't think you really guard Kobe a lot in that game.
You know what's funny?
I ain't see you really guard him. I ain't gonna be biased because you're my cousin, but I ain't really see you on Kobe a lot that game.
There was a point in the game where, the whole crowd, he had about maybe 70 points. And the whole crowd is screaming, Kobe, Kobe, Kobe. And I'm still in my head like, all right, we can still win this game. Like, I'm not tripping off that right there. He having a good game, but so what? So I'm about to go back to the bench and motivate like my teammates, like, come on guys, like we still in this game. But I looked at the coach and he's over there and he got his hand in his head like this, and he's kneeling, and then I looked at some of the players, they over there, Kobe, Kobe. And I looked over here at this group of guys and they over there like smirking and like everybody's cheering.
Yeah.
Like the whole entire arena.
That's crazy though.
Was screaming Kobe, Kobe, including my team. And I was the only one in the arena that was so mad that I just sat down. I didn't say nothing to nobody. I'm just listening to this shit like, I can't believe I'm part of this right here. I was like, I can't believe that I'm about to go down in history with this game and none of y'all feel how I feel right now. I went on Romans Burning the next day. Boy, I talked about my coach so bad. I talked about my team so bad. And the sad part is, I got to experience this damn game every year.
That's a legendary game, though. Yo.
Oh, it's a dope game.
Yo, but I
got to experience this damn thing every single year.
You know what's crazy though? It's so funny because like, when people talk about that game, I be like, yo, Mike had 36 points that game.
Man, my team.
Like, let's be clear, Mike had. I be like, Mike had 36 that game. Let's be clear though.
I will say this about that game though. The problem was
Kobe was going off though.
Oh, he was cooking, but that wasn't the issue. I ain't taking nothing away from him, and I'm not trying to big myself up like I'm something big or whatever. But I went into the locker room. I had like 20 and like 9 or something at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
So at halftime, I went in the locker room and I said to myself, okay, Chris Bosh, he hasn't got any real touches in the first half. Jalen didn't get any touches in the first half. I said, okay, I'm going to come out in the second half and I'm going to get Jalen Mo Pete going and I'm going to get Chris going. So I came out in the second half passive, trying to get people open looks, and they were missing. And Kobe was going down the other end getting a bucket because in the first half, I was exchanging with him. Every time he scored, I scored. So it didn't really, and plus we were winning. But once I stopped scoring and nobody on the team picked up the scoring, it was just like he just kept going like this and like this. Next thing you know, you look up, he got 81 points. Like, wow, impressive.
That was like, it seemed like he had 60 out of nowhere. Then he just had like 70. I was just like, Dad. Then he had like,
got the 50 and be like, you know what, sub? I need some ice.
That's a fact. That's a fact. NBA champion Mike James on the check-in. My guy, appreciate you stopping by. Much love, much respect, man. Much success, man. This is a 16-year NBA vet. Did his numbers in the league, and y'all know what time it is. Mike James. We up out of here. What up?
I mean, you tell me. I mean, shit, we can talk about what's going on now. You can talk about whatever, Joe.
Go ahead, talk about what's up. What's going on now? We here.
Shit, with the, I got my consumption lounge that I'm open up in Louisiana. Been in the cannabis business, the past 2 years. And so we just the blessing is this consumption lounge that I'm about to open up, and also this dispensary, and so that's been like a real huge look for myself, and so excited about where this joint venture is going. Definitely.
That's what it is. That's it.
I mean, shit. Trucking. What else you want to talk about?
Listen, you could talk to. Listen, you could talk to like
man.
What?
Yeah. You bamboozled me.
I ain't listen. I did not bamboozle. I did not bamboozle you. I told you. I told you come see me. Like we kicking it.
Yeah, you did.
It ain't like we working.
You got me working.
I'm saying we chilling. Like you know what I'm saying. We like you know what I mean.
Hey, I remember I used to ride them on the handlebars and ghost ride it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we used to be. We had some fun times growing up, man. Like I'm so proud of you, man. Like I appreciate you for everything.
Oh man, for sure. Proud of you. Proud of what you're doing. You know the man you becoming, and just continual growth. We've been, we've been kicking it for years.
Yeah.
You know, generations, and so it never stops. The ride only gets better.
That's a fact. That's a fact. This is Mike James. Y'all know what time it is. We up out of here.
The fastest growing podcast up in the world right now, you know. Say word. Only fans, real estate, talking in fashion, let them know what's happening. Say word. On and off the court, in the field with the sports, let them know what's up. Say word. The conversation is active, from movies to action, it's the main attraction. Say word.